Okay, so I'd just like to introduce Rita. I thought I hadn't met her until we did the European Shiatsu Congress webinars, which was our partnership with the European Shiatsu Congress in Amsterdam. And it turns out, when we start chatting, when we were doing the rehearsals, it turns out that actually, embarrassingly enough for me, I was actually Rita's examiner back in the 80s when I had a short spell as an examiner for the Shiatsu Society, you know, for the assessment. And she worked on me and everything. And luckily I passed her, thank God. Apparently, but of course I couldn't remember. She could remember me, but I could remember because there were so many people that we went through and we, you know, did the thing. Anyway, not only did she know me from that, but also we used to hang out in the same places in the 1980s around Old Street, which is where the East-West Centre was. And it turns out that also we had lots of other connections. And it was funny when you meet someone who's had a sort of parallel world to you, and then you meet them decades later, completely in a different context. She's actually German, Rita, and she lives in Madrid now. And she's been doing some really interesting work on haptics, which is using the hands, which is all about developing a way of getting kids, especially children, to get away from digital devices and to get them using their hands and to build up that whole tactile intelligence. And she's developed her own system, her own actual system, which is called Mindful Touch Education.
Now I can hear you.
Hooray! You see, thank you, Shakura. We could hear Shakura calling you in the background there. Great, okay.
Beginning stress.
Let's take a deep breath in and breathe out.
Thank you, Cliff.
Okay, great. It's great. I've just given you a nice introduction. Well, at least I hope it was nice. Yeah, I was just saying how I didn't realise, but our paths had crossed so many times in the past, way back in the 80s. And it's just so amazing to connect up again after all this time.
Yes, it's lovely because, you know, that's when all the shiatsu time in England was beginning to flourish, really.
Yeah.
It was of everything, really.
Okay, so here's your slides.
Great.
Would you like me to run the slides? Just tell me and I'll do it for you.
Just check if, okay.
You can do that.
I now understand how to do it.
Very good. You see, that's a good thing about rehearsals.
Yes. It's good to do that. Thanks, Cliff. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so welcome everybody. And thank you for joining this seminar. I'm using some of the slides which I've used in the webinar in June. It's been sort of process work a bit over the summer because, I mean, our world is changing, we are changing, and the focus of our work is also perhaps in a process of change. So I'm just been weaving in and out of some of the materials, and that slides is very still up to date. Are we losing touch? Because we are at a very, very important time in human evolution. I mean, if we look at every type of technology at the moment is coming to the fore and using haptic. What I want to say is that in every type of technology, touch is coming to the fore. And touch is one of the biggest sources of research at the moment. It's amazing that suddenly it's becoming a bestseller. Articles everywhere. And this year have been come out 3 major touch experiments and research globally. So I will talk about that later. So it's like, you know, the way we live, work and relate to each other is changing so much. And human connection, as we are moving towards a unified digital society, is reduced while our social life is more and more digitalized. And also our work and education is becoming digitalized, as we now see in the pandemic of COVID-19. So while we're practicing all this social distancing, it is forbidden what would strengthen our immune system a lot. In fact, the lack of touch is creating serious problems. So at the same time, haptic technology is at the largest and is one of the fastest growing markets at the moment. So there's sort of that two parts of it. I will leave that. We have so many numbers these days, so I leave the numbers out. So we as a species are really in a giant touch experiment. And there are 3 global studies that have come out this summer. One is that just has come out this week, which is the touch test made by Goldsmiths, University of London, in collaboration with the BBC Radio 4. I really do recommend that to everybody to go into the podcasts of BBC Radio 4, 5 podcasts, one day, every day, where there is some amazing stuff in there. A lot of the stuff we've talked about in the webinar in June, but it's really nice because it's weaving the science together with people's experiences. And I really enjoyed listening to that. So that's what I would like to mention. And then the other one is done by Tiffany Fields, another person really important for us and for the touch research from the Touch Research Institute in Miami. She's a woman that has done 40 years of touch research, from infants, babies, anorexia, anything, hundreds of research, and she's very wise, and she's done a research in April I will talk to later. And then from the Bundeswehr University, I didn't know that a University of the Bundeswehr exists in München, another person, Merle Fairhurst, she's also done a study, and I will talk about that as well. So it's great that touch is really coming into such a foreground and it's entering mainstream discussion. But the question is, might this whole situation, might it push us into a no-touch society with the conditioning that's going on now for 6 months, and it's carrying on? I mean, we are being conditioned at the moment to behave in a particular way, and that will leave its ripples, I would think, and it's changing possibly also our mind. So I bring that up again because the first research that's been done in relation to touch has been done by Harlow. Man Cannot Live by Milk Alone, a very touching title of that, or The Nature of Love, which he called his paper. And a new term that's coming out now into society, which is called skin hunger and touch hunger. So Harlow brought into discussion that, we cannot just live by food. And these rhesus monkeys, they had sort of surrogate mothers. And they found out that the monkeys preferred the mother that had cloth and a little bit of warmth in the cloth that was made with a lamp instead of feeding. And just the monkeys that were just feeding on milk on these surrogate mothers, some of them actually died. And they observed that. Well, and anyway, that has changed modern parenting and the attitude towards touch, social bonding, the importance of mental health. I mean,
wow.
We know this in the shiatsu world, I guess.
Wow, can you just describe what this experiment did? I wasn't exactly clear. So is there food on one side and just touch on the other? Is that what it is? The two?
Yes, he produced surrogate mothers, also some monster mothers.
Yeah.
And monkeys had access to these mothers in different experiments. But this experiment, for example, with these 2 photos showed that, he had a milk mother, which is the wired one on the left-hand side, which just has the wire and the head, but you can feed on it.
Yeah.
And the other one had some cloth around it, like towel, and a light behind it, giving the idea of warmth.
Right.
And the monkeys prefer to touch the mother with the cloth rather than feed himself.
They'd rather have touch rather than food.
Yes, and this is what Harlow called also the nature of love. I mean, he was very touched by that and realized that we need to touch. As babies, we come into the world, and what we're doing with our hands and with our whole body is we want to be close to mom. We are touching. It's an expression both of love and of need. So it's a reciprocal thing that we start with early on in life. And that really revolutionized psychology and modern parenting. And then later on, Bowlby with his attachment theory, a lot of development started to happen then. And then later on, the big outcry in when we, that comes later. When we look at the orphanages from Romania, I will give a slide.
Oh, yes, later. I remember that. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, this is what's happening right now to us as well, in a way. We are developing a skin hunger.
Yeah.
We are living with physical deprivation. I mean, Carola will do a brilliant seminar later about loneliness and the effects of grief, loneliness, and just not being in touch with anybody. I mean, older people are not in touch with social media, for example, which might be a substitute, but it doesn't substitute our human connection, which we need. And touch is what connects us.
I found that definitely as we've opened up the clinic and people have been coming back in here, it's been absolutely incredible, because some of my clients, and I'm sure, and Shakura was saying the same to me the other day, and clients have actually said this is the first time someone has touched me for 6 months. You know, clients that live alone maybe, and they aren't in a support bubble. The first time they're touched after 6 months is to come in, and then it really brings into focus just that power, that simple power of touch, without anything else, just that, you know, I found that very, very powerful.
Yes, and there's a lot of shame also in people in relation to their need for touch, depending on your upbringing and so on. You know, they might even, you know, they have to just keep it going. But yes. I mean, there's a lot going on in society. I will talk about that later as well. There are people sort of meeting up at 6 to have a hug, to have a regular contact with somebody, and to just feed that need, you know. What is also really important is that, you know, the touch kills, or human touch has been shown to increase natural killer cells in patients with HIV and cancer. So if we don't have any touch, our immune system cannot be, or we're not maintaining our immune system as well as we do when we have touch. I mean, touch is such a stress releaser, and cortisol caused by fear and the whole collective anxiety at the moment. I mean, you know, it's producing a lot of, it kills a lot of these white blood cells which we need to defend our system. Right, I changed that a bit from last time. The original one actually said, I share, therefore I am, because I was really in the mode of, you know, oh God, more and more social media, more and more. Yeah. But since I saw the film of The Social Dilemma and have understood a bit of what is really going on, I don't know whether anybody has seen this film. It just came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was a mind opener for me, and that's why I changed it. I am a product now, because, you know, this is what is happening to us in our addiction with the social media. Social media is not a tool anymore. I mean, online connection now have become primary, and we are constantly automating the work of our minds. I mean, we cede the control over the flow of our thoughts and memories to a powerful electronic system and networking. And, you know, we are the most profitable product right now in the tech world. And we might not realize that perhaps all this is creating a slow process of erosion of our humanness, of our humanity. You know, somehow technology is eroding the natural evolution of our human brain. And we've developed with our hands. And that has developed, and the touch has developed also our brain. So we're going more towards an automated thinking. So we're at a very, very critical point in human evolution. So let's have a look. I would like to do the first poll in relation to that question. Do you think that we might be losing touch?
Let's have a look.
So part of this talk also is I'm doing a bit of study.
You've got
Wow.
60% of people do think that we are. I suppose it depends who the we is, because I suppose we're a very unique group of people, the shiatsu community, because we live by touching people. But if we think of it as we as the global community, it's probably going to be a different answer there.
But still, it's a very interesting scale. I had not imagined that it would be that high.
Really, there we are, yes.
I'm very surprised that the answer is 58%. Okay, 58%
yes,
think that we might be losing touch. Well, that's interesting because later on we have a look at the touch test about another question. Well, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
But touch is our human glue. I mean, to be human means to be emotional, to feel things. Our senses are so important for that. And touch is the largest sense we have, which is connected with its receptors, nerve fibers, going up the spinal cord into our brain. And it is shaping our mind. It's shaping our brain as well. And this is how we have developed as a human species. I mean, it's so fascinating that, if you, this 83% is just a number of strangers. When strangers are being touched by somebody, they can actually feel the emotion that we are putting into that touch. Without talking, without using any other senses. I mean, our capability, our ability to perceive is tremendous in our sense of touch. So we talk with our hands. And right now, we need human touch more than ever. And it is a particularly cruel irony, given that skin hunger actually weakens our immune system. And that is happening right now. So I'm looking forward to Carola's seminar later on. So what I would like to do is a little practice. I would like you to have a piece of paper and a pen. And just to have a look, we're going to do a collective diagnosis about our human condition. So I like you to imagine that you're holding your mobile phone in your hand. Just imagine that you have your mobile phone in your hand. You're typing your messages, you're deleting, you're putting an emoji. Do another emoji. Another message coming in. Go back to your message. Delete something. Put something in again. Just get that sense of what we do when we're sending messages, because we're trying to be very, very perfect when we do that. We're trying to present ourselves very well in the way we write this. That's why I don't write anymore. I just speak on my WhatsApp. And get a feel of your physical body. Now go into your physical body, holding your mobile, close your eyes, go into your physical body and get a feeling of your physical body. And with your inner eye, scan it, see how it feels like, and then do a quick drawing of it. Very simple. A dribbly, a wobbly, how do you call them? Just a scribble about it. And once you've done that, have a look and just, if you can sum it up in one word, how your physical body feels, and put that in the chat, that would be great. Cliff, how could I see the chat? Yeah, there we go.
I'll just show you my picture.
Yes. Yeah.
I came up with 2 words, focus eyes. It was all up into my head and then into my eyes.
Yes. scattered, wobbly, stressed energy high up, square, tense, contrived, armored. Yes. Yes. Imbalanced, dried, rigid, tensed. Oh, wow. Constricted, curled up. Yes. Yes, I think you're using thunderstorm. Yes, rumor, outside of the body. Yes, imbalance, insecure, scrambled. Well, I will be looking forward to look at all these words later on when I look through the chat things. And just show that again of the photographer Eric Pickersgill. I've just added a few masks to the pictures, but what this photographer did, he took photos of us, but he took the devices away from the people just to show the observer the posture, the human posture of when we're holding our devices. Now we have to add the mask. And he called it removed, this series of photos. I found them absolutely flabbergasting. And they show us our human condition. So what you're expressing right now is really a collective diagnosis. I feel separated from all. Exactly. Exactly. I feel separated all. Okay. So what Goldsmiths College did with BBC Radio 4, they did the touch test. 40,000 people took part in that, of 112 countries.
Wow.
The biggest test ever done in history on touch. But they did it from January to March. So only 1 week got into the evaluation of this test when we were in the lockdown, or when you were in the lockdown. When we were in the lockdown, January, exactly. It's really, really interesting. And when you listen to the podcast of the results of it, I cannot put everything in here. There's some fantastic results in there and observations. But what the major answer is in relation to this touch test, that people felt that they're getting enough touch. That was before the pandemic, was 54 people said that they don't get enough touch in their lives due to societal limitations, lack of social interactions, and change of attitudes. So that was before the lockdown.
Wow.
3% said they're getting too much touch in their lives. So many people argue that we can maintain our social relationships, but through technologies, but it's a very difficult one. So let's go on a bit. So what do you think? These were the results from before the pandemic. And people said, 53% said, do you think that that society receives, that there's enough touch in society? But do you think that the need for touch has changed because of COVID-19? I think it's a rhetoric question, really. Mm-hmm. But I would like to have a look at it. What do you think?
The vast majority are coming out as a yes. They're like 92%.
Yes, of course. Yes. I mean, for us, it's absolutely obvious, because we are so much in touch with it. So 91% thinks that the need for touch has changed. Yes, I think it has changed.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at the next slide. So Tiffany Fields from the Touch Research Institute of the Miami School of Medicine, she did a research in April, just in the first month of the epidemic. And in the first 2 weeks, from the 1st to the 15th of April, 42% said that they felt touch deprived. And towards the end of that April, 68% said that they felt touch deprived. And the majority of people tried to counterbalance that by doing outdoor sports. The outdoor sports went up to 86%. Many people said also that they touched their kids more. Partners said that they had more touch between them. So that was the results of that research. And then there's another one also that was done in the States in June, the Center for Disease Control. What is really sad is that they have registered more suicides than deaths from COVID-19 in that month. And that was only 1 week, from the 24th to the 30th of June. They did this research with more than 5,000 people. And about 25% of these people between the age of 18 and 24 consider suicide as a result of the pandemic.
That's incredible.
Incredibly high, yes. Obviously, anxiety, depression has gone up in society, and that will have its repercussions even after the pandemic. Trauma, stress-related disorders. And in America, anxiety has increased by 3 times. So quite heavy numbers in relation to what was said. And then the other survey was by Merle Furs from the Bundeswehr University. And her survey showed, she did a survey also on did people feel touch deprived. It was 100%. They felt touch deprived. And she's now developed an app which trains you to stroke someone's skin at the perfect speed. And another one, if you do it correctly, a lullaby will appear and will soothe you into sleep. So that's how haptic technology is moving on. So that is the slide I used last year as well, in relation to what touch deprivation did. That's the first time when we really were aware what that touch deprivation does to us. When we looked at the Romanian orphanages that were opened up in 1989, and 100,000 children from the orphanages were looked at by the world, rocking themselves, staring into blank. And studies have been conducted then, and a lot of people have been adopted from the orphanages, but people who have stayed in these orphanages for a long time, they had a smaller brain there. They had impaired growth, cognitive development, memory, social development, behavior is obviously very changed, and a high percentage is likely to have ADHD, a high spectrum of autism. For us, it's quite obvious. We know about this, but the world didn't. Mm-hmm. So that was the outcry, and more studies were then done in relation to touch. So what do you think? Have you increased? That's another question I really would like to understand. Have you increased the use of digital devices during the pandemic?
Okay, let's find out.
I would like to put that into sort of percentage, 20%, 40%, but that would have been difficult in the poll, and it would have taken time. But yes, obviously, look at that.
Yeah, loads more people, yeah. I think it might be interesting I think, especially for us, I think a lot of people that I know who are into bodywork and things have kind of balanced that out. They've maybe had to work online, but then they've been even more careful about getting outside into nature and to try and balance it out. So maybe that's happened too, even though we've been forced to use more digital.
Yes, I agree, Cliff, completely. And a lot of people use the devices also to get into exercise programs, yoga, whatever, or even a self-development program. There are lots of things with meditation and so on. So, but it's interesting that now we're moving more into that direction.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's 80%. That's a lot.
Yes.
So, I think this correlates also. This slide relates to the question I asked at the beginning, how you felt, in your body, in your physical body. So there is a kind of collective disembodiment, I think, because, I mean, we're keeping the distance, we're moving 5 meters around, we're protecting ourselves. We're not receiving the comfort and the reconciliation which we did before, holding hands, giving a hug, a pat on the back. All these things are causing a lot of pain in society. That's in our collective field right now. And I think it's causing a lot of a lack of grounding and a lack of being more up in the head, in particular if we are using the devices even more. And the devices are taking us more and more into the future. So it's very, very important that we do our personal practices to bring us back to the present and to bring us back into the body by grounding exercises. So what I am mostly interested in, this is my work. I mean, I brought all this information in to understand what's happening to us. But actually, what's most worrying is the effects in children. I mean, during the pandemic time, I continued teaching, and I'd done a lot of teaching online to the extent that I also went out of my head, I guess, because I had so many lessons. I'm going back now into face-to-face teaching, and all this time I've been in touch with my students also over the summer to see how they were dealing with the situation. And there is a lot of imbalance happening in the children now. If we look at children, the youngsters, teenagers and youngsters, they are saying that they are missing the touch very much between their friends. They are not centered. They feel they have a lot of problems in their attention, that they're using more or less double the time of trying to do their homework and studying. I mean, in Spain, we have a very, very hard situation. Children go to school, I don't know whether that's the same in England, but 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the next week they go 2 days a week to school. So they're spending a lot of time at home. They're spending a lot of time online. They are using a lot of digital devices and the games. And, you know, some say, well, you know, if we have online classes, I have my mobile next, but I mean, we're chatting away because it's so boring. They've lost their structure and their meaning and rhythm in life. And they also, the stimulation to go to school is also partly their peers. They need to have that social peer network to feel themselves and to develop a sense of identity. And that is what a lot of them are struggling with. So there is a bit of withdrawal, hopelessness, and anxiety. Small children, you know, if they had cases in the family, you know, the fear of losing them. And talking recently with another student of mine, you know, he said, well, we're living in the same house with my grandparents, but we're not eating with them together anymore. I said, why is that? Well, just to protect them, because now we're going out into school, and if we're bringing in something, so they're not eating anymore together. And just yesterday, I talked to the mother of one of the girls, and she's just been put into quarantine because of one of the girls in the schools, in her class, whose cousin was tested positive, but he didn't develop the COVID. And the girl went home. She was absolutely devastated. Why me? What's wrong with me? What have I done wrong? I have done everything. I put the mask on. I'm washing my hands all the time. I keep distancing with it. I mean, what have I done wrong? So what that is doing psychologically to the children right now is tremendous as well. And it's just very worrying to me. And obviously, adults, children, you know, we are in our devices more than ever. And a lot of the children, as one mum says, if they're getting on my nerves, I give them 2 mobiles and, you know, there's peace in the house. So they're getting left to their devices and they're withdrawing into their own world. So let's have a look. Another poll I would like to do. What type of touch do people crave more, you think? Is it stroking? Is it hugging? Or is it squeezing?
Okay, let's just, I'll just, so it's which type
of
of
touch
touch
do
do
people
you prefer? Okay, let's see. We've got stroking, hugging, and squeezing.
Because I've been working with the children on this research project in school using different vocabulary of touch, developing a grammar out of it, making a story out of it, or sentences, how we touch.
Oh, yeah. So let's just see what they...
Have a look what adults say, what type of touch you crave.
It's going to be a big win for hugging. Yeah, hugging's coming out at 76%, followed by stroking, and squeezing comes out last.
Yes. Well, that's very interesting because with the kids in school, they love the squeezing.
Oh, do they?
They love the squeezing of the arms.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
the
so
word,
isn't it?
Squeeze. They loved it. They also loved the stroking, but the hugging was not the preferable one. But in adults, it is the hugging. That's really interesting. So let's give us a good hug.
Yes.
But the effect of it is after 20 seconds if you give yourself a hug. So the important thing is that when we're hugging, we're developing, we're releasing endorphins. So I count it and then tell you. So enjoy yourself. Hugging, giving yourself a nice, caring, loving hug. At the same time, just be aware that we're all doing that. Perhaps we can give us a big, massive hug in this group. Just feel how that feels in your body when you're doing that to yourself. Sinking into it. Combining it perhaps with some strokes. So sometimes that is a little sweetie for the day when you don't have anybody to hug. But it's, you just got to be conscious about it, that when you need it, that you do it.
And it should be 20 seconds or more. Is that's research based, is it?
Yeah, 25 seconds. Yes. It's been done by David Linden. He said that.
There we are. You see, science can be very useful sometimes.
Yes. It's been quite an eye-opener for me as well. And it is nice to combine it with our knowledge. I mean, we know this as shiatsu practitioners. We're knowledge holders. We are these little lights now in society that say, well, let's do more touch, let's practice something more. So, yes. So this is what research is also saying, in particular, Francis McLone. Francis McLone is a neuroscientist at Liverpool University, and he's been working mainly with the study of CT afferents. That's a very slow fiber, and it's a type of nerve fiber which conducts information at around the 50th of the speed of other fibers, of other nerve fibers. So it's a very slow moving one. You only find it in hairy skin, not in the glabrous skin, which is in our hands, for example, or soles. And what do I want to say? I'm offline. So he said that when you touch this fiber, we're producing more endorphins and more the cuddle hormone, how do you call it? Oxytocin. So it's when you're stroking down the skin at a particular speed. For adults, it's about 2.5 seconds per 2.5. What am I? Oh, sorry, I've lost my trail. 2.5 Centimeters per second.
Second. Yeah, that's right. I remember you doing this before.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
That's the one. And for children, it's 3 centimeters per second. So they're a little bit faster.
That's because
when we stroke down at this speed, down the body, it produces really good hormones. So you should try doing that all over your body. You can start on your head and very gently bring it down. Bring yourself into presence, into your palms, and just at a very slow pace, do it all over your body. And doing it down the outside of the arm. Just be in your hand while you're doing that as well. Bring the focus really into connecting with yourself. So it's really looking after yourself. Ever so simple. But backed up by science. And try also a part of your leg, or parts of your leg. Perhaps one leg at a time with both hands. So it's gentle stroking, not with a lot of pressure.
I'm just experimenting with going a little bit too fast and a little bit too slow. And it's very specific, isn't it? If you go too fast, you kind of lose that effect. And if you go too slow, the same thing happens.
Absolutely. If you're doing it the right speed, you're actually in connection with yourself. If you're doing it too fast, you're off again. Yeah. Saying, yeah, that's how I feel as well. And actually, it like, yes. How much time have I got left? Sorry.
It's now 11 o'clock European time, and you're on until 11:15. So we've got 15 minutes left now.
It's okay. So, I mean, you know about, it's all about touch receptors, but this specific one is very important. How are you feeling right now? Let's have a look. How are you feeling in your body right now?
Yeah, so how's everyone feeling with this specific speed of, very calming and relaxed, everyone's saying. Open and relaxed and calming. That seems to be the main thing.
I feel very warm now. Yeah, great, okay.
It's interesting in terms of yin and yang. I was just thinking as well, because the hairy skin is on the yang side of the body, isn't it? Of the arms and everything, definitely. So that's an interesting thing.
Yes, it counts the yang. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I looked into what the studies suggested, these official studies right now about tests. So how can people help themselves?
Yes.
Of course, the more hugs you get, the less colds you get. That's sort of a saying. You can give yourself hugs and stroke. I mean, we know that from Douyin, and also to be in the shower, you use the loofah. Scalp massage is very effective. Rooming yourself, squeezing the arms. Move the skin before bedtime to sleep better. For people with insomnia. Or finding it difficult to sleep. So there are quite a few exercises you can do.
We've got 4 questions, so if you could leave time at the end to answer some of the questions, I'll queue them up.
Okay, this is what we just did, the practice. Question: do you think that people would like to engage in a digital form of touch? Because research and haptic technology is going into that. Now, what we've just practiced is also practice that they use with a brush on the body. So there is a system now that brushes down your skin at that speed. You also now have jackets that give you the feeling of receiving a hug, or somebody patting your back. That's all in haptic technology right now to substitute the human touch. So do you think that people would like to engage in a digital form of touch?
Would you like me to do that as a poll?
Yeah, it would be interesting to see that.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll just launch that poll now. So it's... Do you think people would like to engage in a digital form of touch? I think probably as body work, as shiatsu practitioners, they're probably hoping they won't, so that they won't take business away from us.
Yeah, sure. But look, it's interesting.
It's kind of ironic that technology is actually encouraging people to touch.
There is such an irony in what is happening right now. So that's the big question. Are we losing?
But I'm totally with you on that earlier slide, because I've read there's some very interesting books, very, very deep books out there. Surveillance Capitalism is one of my favorites. I'll send you a link to that.
Yes.
And it's not so much the digital devices themselves, but it's the addictive nature of social media. That's the real problem. You think those massive companies like Facebook and Google, they've got the cleverest people in the planet working on how to suck those kids into those screens. It's quite frightening.
Yeah, they've done it consciously. They had no scruple about it. But I mean, this new film that has come out, I do recommend it. The Social Dilemma. They explain it. I don't know why this film has come out. If they just want to whitewash themselves, or whether it is actually. I got it a bit like a hopeful video, but. I don't know. I was even thinking the other day, talking to my son, if this has been done consciously.
Oh, really? Yeah.
If this has been done consciously
You've got to be so careful.
To make us addicts.
Yes.
What is happening right now?
Yeah.
I just, I have to be very careful what I'm saying, but, I've even questioned that.
Yeah.
So my work is the Mindful Touch program. And in this Mindful Touch education program, I try to give or teach or help people to develop awareness that touch is essential for human living. So human skills is now a terminology which we have to get used to because technology is taking over. And the Mindful Touch program deconstructs touch to apply it for daily lives in the family, in school, at work. I've developed a program, I'm still working on it. The original idea was actually to teach it at school. Right now, I cannot do that. So I have to readjust it to family situation. But it was actually teaching children positive touch from early age so that they learn the language of touch as a means of positive social behavior and as a means of developing empathy, compassion. And what my research has found out is that it heightens children's self-worth, which means they are more prepared for learning and they're happier in life when self-worth is higher. I mean, the results were very good, which are in the last webinar. So the program is about the science of touch, the vocabulary and grammar of touch, and the stories. I mean, I'm also a linguist, so the language I use is sort of related to that. I teach children the vocab of touch. There are 20 words: to pat, to squeeze, to slap, to poke. We experiment touch. We experiment what we do with our hands. Which parts of our hands are we using? What noise do they make? I try to bring it now into a kind of visual description, so that it's like solfeo. It's like the language of music. So when they learn a grammar of touch, sort of like a sentence of touch, they, after the symbols, they can just do it. So there's a lot of it which I'm working at, which makes me feel I'm using my creativity with it. So yeah, there are the chapters, there are modules. So I'm doing a pilot. I don't want to make any propaganda now, but we are starting a pilot program now in October with a 50% discount. And it would be great if you could stay in touch. There on the website now, there are articles you can read. There's another one. There are 2 to download. There's also a lovely story which is called The Cuddle Story. And there is some practices you could download from the website. And I will put this also into the website as well to make it more visual.
That's great. I've got a few questions for you. We've got, Sandy asks about references in the handout. We'll send you we'll put the slides up as a handout at the end of the presentation. Okay. Catherine asked a while ago, do you think we can reduce the effects of before and during the pandemic right now somehow, apart from self-touching? What's your view on that? How can we work towards that, minimising the effects?
Well, are you talking generally or talking for yourself? Because I think
Catherine was talking about society generally, okay, or our place in it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm incorporating practices in every lesson with my students, whether it is online or whether it is face-to-face. I'm teaching students to work with themselves. I do Qigong exercises, I do self-touch exercises, I do brain gym exercises to be more focused. As we are not allowed to touch, they're doing self-touch exercises. And in every lesson I do it, whether it's a 50-minute lesson or a 1.5-hour lesson. And they love it, they like it very much.
Right, so you're educating the touch right there, even if you're doing the stuff online, you're focusing it on the touch.
I'm integrating it all the time. And I feel at the moment, I'm working more with the community where I live now. My idea is really to expand it to the parents, to work more with the parents of the children. I mean, the students I have, they come with word by mouth. So somehow they like it. The parents are talking as well. So it's weaving it into the local community, I think at the moment is a very good approach to start. Once the schools are more open, then we can bring the program into schools. Or I'm developing now a program of online for the teachers, and I'm starting in October now with webinars of this program to teach it to people. But before we can actually do it face to face, yes, I think it's to remind people all the time is very, very important to show children the Pericardio 8, the heart constrictor 8. I make songs with it, make a smile, a face in the hand. I make a Pinocchio game as if the point is a nose that's growing, it's touching. So they are working with a little bit of chi, they're getting a sense of chi. Simple breathing exercises. Grounding exercise. Yeah. Do a lot of grounding exercises because we're so much in our head. So it's like working into visualizing being a tree, growing roots, having a strong trunk, all these things we do in our shiatsu training. Make it simple for the very small children, and then with the youngsters, with the teenagers, much easier. But they're hungry for it.
Absolutely, I'm sure. Yeah. Here's another question from Alexandra, and that's obviously a shiatsu-related thing. Do you think it makes any difference between if it's on the skin or on clothing, the stroking?
No, I think you can do this on the clothes.
Yeah.
You don't have to undress yourself. I mean,
No,
the clothes is stroking the hair. Yes, it's not just a physical thing. I mean, also energetically it has an effect. I mean, we know that from shiatsu. So what is the name of the skin receptor nerve? It's a CT efferent.
CT efferent, there we are. And it's all on the slides, isn't it? So you can look back and
also in the article that is on the web, Are We Losing Touch? You have a lot of references of research and books and so on. Yes, it's all in that article.
Great. Okay. Well, we'll definitely do that as a handout, and then you can just click on the links there. The documentary that you mentioned.
It's called The Social Dilemma.
Social Dilemma. Okay. And I think someone put a link to it in the chat. I'm pretty sure I saw a link to it in the chat, but we'll do that again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's great. I mean, it's also now, I think in Spain, I think it's now in Spanish as well. I saw it the other day, somebody sent it to me. It's going viral. It's moving very fast.
Yeah, it's definitely the time has come. The time has come, yeah. What would you say about the relationship between children using devices and dyspraxia? There's a link there.
Dyspraxia?
Dyspraxia is not being able to move. It's not being able to coordinate your movements properly. I don't know if there's any research on that, but it'd be worth looking it up.
Yes, I remember that in the touch test from Goldsmith, from the BBC Radio 4, there was a woman, she was a disabled woman, she was in a wheelchair, and she talked about her experiences of the touch right now, but I haven't seen anything in relation to that yet. I'm sorry.
We'd have to look
have a look in there as well. Yes. So
okay, Fran would like to know, when you make these symbols for the kids, do you concentrate on phrases and rhythm when you do that?
Yes.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
It's rhythm. Well, it's like. I mean, it just depends, when you're doing stroking, how would you put that in a symbol? You can put it like this, you can put like strokes, or you could put a hand. I'm in the process of developing that. I haven't really finished with that yet, because it's quite difficult to make it visual unless you're just constantly using hands and lots of different colors and so on. But it's like I would like to develop that, and any suggestions and any help everybody would like to, great. I'm really open to collaborations. Fantastic. I'm looking at the moment for an illustrator for 5 drawings I need for 5 characters I'm developing for a journal so that the children work with them.
Right, there we are. There's a request.
Yes.
This is a good question to finish on, I think, which is, do you think the sense of lack we're all experiencing will make us more aware of our vital need for social and human contact and physical contact?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think touch at the moment is a big topic. It's the biggest topic right now.
Yep,
but I mean, what is happening is, on the one hand, we are being, no, I don't want to say that. I mean, we are in the biggest touch experiment. We are in a big touch experiment. We are aware of what is happening to us, but also haptic technology is using that knowledge to develop them. So, but we as a human species are in a touch experiment, and it is a fantastic creative time to look at what we're experiencing and turn it into a positive approach and a positive move to, for example, encourage in the family that you touch more, that you hug more, that you really consciously bring more hugging into family. That is moving thing, and that makes your children feel better now, in particular with the time of schooling they are receiving. Touch needs to be made more conscious in daily life, and we need to use it more. I think this is the message right now. We need to listen to ourselves. We need more touch.
I think that's the perfect ending to this presentation. And what a visionary piece of work, and just the quality of your presentation. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm sure everyone did. It was absolutely great. And thinking back to the Shiatsu Research Network and how they were emphasizing the link between research and acceptability in society, I mean, I think you've got it right on there. I mean, it's just really amazing, and you can see in the chat there's a massive stream of hand clapping and hearts going out to you. Thank you so much, Rita. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for joining this seminar.
And I wish you all the best with your project, the Mindful Touch Education Project. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and the team. Thank you very much for this amazing
welcome.
Yes.
Okay, great. So here we are. That was Rita, and I'm sure you all really enjoyed that. What an amazing bit of work, and so lovely to see her on the Congress.